the mindset followed by the action of simply putting it out in the world, that was my, if anything, preoccupation. This is what I was thinking about. That is a very, very, that was my step. Okay. And when other people started, because here's how the world, this is why I concurrently believe this is, the whole time you're doing steps 1, 2, and 3, you are amplifying what you're doing. Because if you can't bring other people along with your dream, my first $500 and free pair of skis in exchange for a photograph came from someone at one of those parties where I told them that I was a photographer. My first $500 came from one of those people coming back to me and saying, hey, I work for this ski company. If I gave you a free pair of next year's skis and you could put them on a bunch of your different ski model friends, maybe you could create a good picture for us. So had I not printed that card that said Chase Jarvis photographer, and had I not socialized the fact that what I was focused on in the world was being a photographer, and remember, all you have to do in order to be the noun is do the verb. As soon as I start taking pictures, I am a photographer. As soon as you start building a business, you are an entrepreneur. As soon as you start playing the piano, you are a musician. As soon as you start, you get the point, right? So I had taken those very, very simple steps. And the only thing that allowed that person to come to me with a possible project was that I had socialized those 3 or 4 previous steps. I didn't say, hey, I did this weird thing. I printed a business card. I just said the words, I'm a photographer. And, I gave you the bigger context there because it's important to take these steps. And the most important of those steps is actually putting it out in the world. And to be fair, I'd been working on my craft, but without putting it out there in the world, without building community and helping other people understand my vision for myself, none of it would have happened. So I'm going to ask you one particular specific question, Thor, since you asked me one. Where are you stuck?
There's no shortage of ideas. It's endless. The thing, your stories help me look back in time and realize that some of what I had created in business plans while working with a big company, it's still alive. It just, the train is not left. It's actually, it's making sense, right? So I know what's missing. I'm at a perfect place in life. So it is about taking the doing steps and
taking the imperfect. Imperfect, I can tell for you just by the tone of your voice, Thor, that the imperfect part of action, I'm guessing that you want it to be perfect, that you wanted to completely de-risk everything in order to take that first step. And printing a business card that says photographer is maybe the flimsiest step you can do, right? And I didn't actually do anything other than put some words on a piece of paper. But it was action. And I want to know if you feel like you are clear enough on what 3 to 5 imperfect actions that you could take in order to move your vision forward. Have you identified 3 to 5 things that would get you from where you are to the next step?
Yeah. And if I'm face to face with my fear, what I realize is I don't have to be the best in Photoshop, right? There's lots of talent out there. Thank you. So the community is so key to being able to actually not say no because I don't have the skill, right? I can find the community to help me actually make it possible. So yes, I don't know how to code, but I know that blockchain is a part of what I want to utilize as a framework to put out there. That leads to what actions do I need to take? I need to find people that are in the blockchain community that can help me put my idea into practice. I don't need to learn how to code. I need to find the people.
Sure. And you know what else you need to do? You need to start.
Yeah.
That is you're waiting to be ready to start, and you have to start before you're ready. That's just the facts, man. And so if you're saying, oh, I need to meet some other people in the community, I'm going to give you a piece of homework, and it is reach out to somewhere between 5 and 10 people who could help you start your vision. It isn't, you don't even have to know what happens after that. The first thing is if the blockchain is really critical to what you want to do, or if a Photoshop is like, what is the simplest number of actions, simplest set of actions that you can take to do something instead of nothing. And to me, that's just opening up a dialogue with 5 people who might be able to help you. Expect to hear no, but start with the possibility of yes, and write those people, reach out to them, call them if there are people that you've already identified. What can you do to be in their circle? What can you do to connect with them? How can you do something instead of nothing?
Yeah.
Copy that.
Thank you. Copy.
You're welcome.
All right.
You guys give a to Thor and Marcella.
Hello.
Hi, good morning.
Good afternoon.
Good afternoon. Okay, you're in the
I'm
East.
here on the East Coast near Boston. So I think you partially answered my question, but I'm probably going to get some additional input from you and the crew.
Mm-hmm.
I am a very comfortable introvert, and am trying to figure out in this COVID world, like I'm venturing into art. I run design and construction teams, and that's been my like shadow expression, but the real expression is not that. And how, for a profound introvert, do we find our community and build our base camp and share? So that's where I'm stuck.
Okay. And I want to, let me ask a couple of investigative questions, if I may. So I understand that you manage design and build firms or design and build projects or something, but what is your is that your access, under which you want to put all of your energy to be or become the best version of that? Or is there something, you said you described it as a shadow. So yes. What is your bright sunlight version of it?
Working with artists and being a mixed media artist myself. So I have a business partner who's on here somewhere, and she and I are trying to figure out businesses to disrupt the art world, but also for me actually creating art, because I come from a long line of artists, but have always thought but I didn't inherit that artistic part. That was for them.
Yep. I love this. I love it. There's so many opportunities for you to make quick progress as I listen to what you're saying. So I noticed that you immediately went the descriptor, the order of your description of what you wanted to be was first to support other artists and then to become one. Speaking of shadows, what I see in that is that there's a shadow of, I am built for supporting artists first. And what I really want to do, but I'm scared to put it first and to prioritize it, is to actually be the artist. Now, I could be wrong. I've only, I've only done this therapy about 60,000 times with different people. I'm happy to be wrong. But if indeed you were alone in the dark staring at your ceiling at 3 a.m. and you said what you really want to do is, notice I'm not trying to take away the supporting other artists. Like, I look at what I'm doing right now as that's a part of my vision, right? That's how I started realizing that, man, that's, when I almost died in that avalanche in Alaska, I was like, I'm at the peak of my career and yet something's still missing. And wait a minute, if I got, this has delivered so much value to me that if I could get 1 or 10 or 100 other people to tap into a 50th of what I got to experience, it would all be worth it. So I say that as like inspiring and supporting and adding value to others in the creative community is virtuous in and of itself. But I hear in there that you want to do it. So my question to you is, what are you doing? Right? So you're building community is great. I'm also hearing that you want to actually be building community before you starting to do the art part.
So I've started the art part.
Okay.
I get halfway through a project and part of it's on the table behind me, part of it's on the floor behind me. And the inner voice starts coming in like, what are you doing? What is this? Maybe you should go see what other people are doing, how they're doing it right before you do this. And that's, then go support artists and create a business. But I start and then
it sounds to me to be like it's a fancy virtuous form of procrastination, because helping others is very virtuous. But if you're not putting your own oxygen mask on, you're going to be second class when it comes to helping others. So my prescription, if I may, is I want you to complete 5 things. And I would challenge you. I think you can actually complete 5 things in 5 days if you just set set the scope to be something different. It doesn't have to be a piece that's hanging in a gallery waiting to be sold, but it can be a piece that you put in a drawer. And the prescription to, or rather, I would say the solution for getting through this idea of being partway done and tending to the thing that makes us feel good about progress, right? Because if I do something, I get to the point where it's just about to be the part that helps me, and then I set that down and go do something that makes me feel good, because this makes me feel bad, right? Almost finished, not quite there. Psychologists say I need to take a break, and in my break, I'm going to go do the thing that makes me feel good, where I can get instant results, where I know I have veracity and I can support others, and I can easily tap into a community by Googling, Facebook group, needlepoint, or whatever your profession or your craft is. And you can go start leaving comments there. That's not bad action, but in your case, you're deferring the completing of creative projects in order to go to the thing that is more natural to you. And so it's sort of like if you're a jump rope superstar and what you really need to be working on is your pull-ups, you get a half a pull-up and then you're like, cool, I'm going to go jump rope some more because it makes me feel good. And what I want you to know is that is absolutely natural, 100% natural, because we all like to feel good about ourselves. I'll tell you, this is a little insight on Creative Live. Creative Live we have 2,000 some odd classes. And at Creative Live, I've long desired for us to be able to package these classes and to help present the right class to the right person at the right time as you're partway through your journey. But what makes Creative Live feel really good is just making more content, because it's what we're the best in the world at. And so if we're getting stuck over here, we'll go create 5 more classes, and then the team's high-fiving and we get the best, we get Citizen Cope to do a performance, and we get Sam Harris on to do a thing, and Brene Brown, all right. And then we pat ourselves on the back because that's what we're really good at. But what I want us to be better at is presenting the right class to the right person at the right time, so that they like, bing, click, this is awesome. Thank you for helping me. That's math, that's engineering. That's a lot of the very complex side of the business. We have mastered making classes. Sounds like you've mastered helping other people. I want you to master making art. And the way that you do that is to complete 5 things in 5 days. I don't care if you put them in the garage. I don't care if you put them under your bed, in a drawer. Just call them done. Can you do that? I really think that the community building to you is a second tier of importance. I think you need to start calling yourself the artist first, and I also help others. And when you do those things and you have some more questions about building community, I'll answer those after you show up for yourself. And so you can text me. You're in the text community. I recognize your name, and you're here in the Zoom call. So when you get stuck on the community building part, I'll answer that after it's a quid pro quo. All right. Fair enough? Is it fair?
Yeah. Yep.
Okay. All right. Thank you so much. I'm going to look to Facebook, and I'm going to look at YouTube Live and Twitter and Instagram Live for a couple of comments or a couple of questions here real quick. And then we're going to go back to the Zoom. Let's see here. Where you at? Okay, what's the right question here? Okay, David Brassity on Twitter, or rather Periscope. It's almost a comment, but I want to address it as a question because I think it's helpful. And he said he'd love a daily journal, a workbook, or something to support this book. I'm in the middle of doing research on some projects that will further Creative Calling. Creative Calling's life is still very, very, very young. I think this is 6 months into its life. And I think we're just getting started. And I was also scheduled to be speaking all over the world about the topic of creativity, both in corporate settings and at the big, conferences around the world. So I want you to know just show of hands if I created some more materials around the book, would that be valuable? Just like, okay, I'm putting that at 90%, 85%. Drew, nah, doesn't need it. Everybody else does. Okay, so that's helpful, thing one. But thing two, and why I want to treat David's comment about wanting a journal as a question is because I often get asked, what is the value of a journal? Now, I think the value of the journal comes in lots of different forms. And the most important of which is actually just taking action and regularly revisiting your goals. Whether that is in a journal or morning pages or something in your phone that you scribble or look at every day, or whether it's a list of habits or goals that you have. Remember, my app of choice is Habit List for reviewing my goals and my daily behaviors. But I find that writing is A, most powerful for me in the morning, and B, a very good way to organize your thoughts. If you can write down the things that are in your brain onto paper, that is a form of doing two things. One, getting them out of here so that you can use this for thinking and creating rather than remembering. And two, it puts the things in the world from this sort of immaterial spiritual role of neurons and cognition and all these fuzzy things. It puts them into reality. It makes them a hard, reviewable, passable, communicatable thing, which is on paper. And to me, both of those activities are very, very powerful. So if you do not journal, I'm not judging. I'm currently sort of oscillating between a physical journal and a digital journal as part of an experiment to find out what works best for me. So that if I did make some other materials for the book. But to David's point is that, the understanding the value of a journal, even if you are not a writer, even if you are a visual artist, the place that I would steer you to is some of the exercises in the book. I think it's in designing a plan. If you review that section, that step, there's a lot in there. Also morning pages, Julia Cameron, Tim Ferriss has got a lot of good stuff on journaling. And I'll continue to share with you my findings, but if you don't have a journal, it's a good thing to do. Also, there was a